So hey everybody, welcome. It's Johnny Moe here. I'm with fellow admins in the Lab Coat Agents group, Regina Brown and Linda Maxwell. And today we have the unique privilege of talking to two awesome icons in our industry, Saul Klein and John Reily. When you hear what they've done, I mean, they've done so much for our industry on so many different levels. You know, they help lay the foundation for the technology that's out there. They've done a lot on the NAR level, and they created the ePro certification, which now NAR has and is a certification, everything. They've just done some really dynamic stuff. So I want to welcome Saul and John to the webinar today. Welcome, guys.
Hey, thanks.
Well,
for being here. Great.
yeah,
So,
hey everybody.
yeah. So what we're doing here is Regina, myself, and Linda, we usually do a lot of stuff in the LCA brokers group, but we're bringing it to the main group today. And what Saul and John are going to be sharing, and we're going to be interjecting too, is branding, how to make a name for yourself. And we're going to be talking about that more on the technological and email and domain side, because I think a lot of agents are just missing that. So what I'm going to do now is turn the floor over to Saul and John and let them roll with it, and we can jump into it at any point. Saul and John, welcome.
Hey, great, thanks. And yeah, we got a bunch of slides, but I think we just kind of go through things one at a time and talk and have a conversation and take any questions. So since this was about branding and the subject of branding, the first thing that John and I thought was important is to understand that people, and particularly in real estate, I think sometimes we get fed a bag of goods. This idea of branding, it's almost like people think it's really easy, anybody can do it, and we can all brand. And the fact is, branding is really not that easy. It takes a lot of time, takes a lot of money. The best example that I can come up with is somebody like Coca-Cola, and these big brands, they spent gazillions of dollars branding, and then they don't stop, they continue to brand. So to get instant recognition is next to impossible. Branding is something that takes time. And even if you can afford Super Bowl ads, you'll brand faster, but it's still going to take you some time. So I think there's kind of a myth to how much of a brand people can create for themselves, and that branding takes a lot of repetition. Somebody's got to put their product or service in front of me an awful lot before I remember it. And so that's important to know. What do we do that we can do on an ongoing basis that doesn't necessarily cost us a lot of money, but it enhances what we believe is our brand?
Hey, that's a great introduction. You know, I'd like to, if we could just introduce our panelists here before we get started.
Sure. And I would just add to that real quick, right before we move to that slide, and be remembered. And be remembered.
That's the key.
Yeah.
Hey,
You're not branded if they don't remember you.
Thanks to Lab Coat Agents for having us in their group today with our live panel webinar. And we have joining us Linda Maxwell, who is a real estate brokerage owner, real estate instructor. She's a coach, a miracle morning coach for real estate agents, and a trainer mentor. Hello, Linda.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me. I'm
awesome.
Logging in on the computer.
Yes, I know you're expanding your brokerages. You're in how many states now?
4.
4 states. Wow. Multi-state brokerage. You're very experienced in that.
Midwest and New England.
Okay. And then we have Johnny Moe, who is the founder of More GCI and GCI Academy. So welcome, Johnny.
I'm in all 52 states now.
Okay. Welcome. Let's see. Get my little thing here. And me, Regina Brown. I'm a brokerage owner. Had my license for over 30 years now. Woohoo! And now I'm also a business consultant for other brokerage owners, helping them succeed as well. And I do have a little link here. This is my RealTown link, if anybody's curious and wants to see what we're going to be talking about today. And then we have John Reily, and he is one of the 2 founders of RealTown, an attorney in San Diego, California area, and an author of a real estate book called The Language of Real Estate, plus other books, and also a co-creator of NAR's ePro and a frequent social media contributor. So Welcome, John.
Hey, great to be here.
Yay.
Go ahead.
John and I are in the same room,
Yeah.
but he turned his mic off.
Oh, okay, great. I was wondering how he was doing that because it says this mic is off. Hey, that was a good tech strategy. So, and that is Saul Klein, who is the other RealTown founder, realtor emeritus for over 40 years. Wow, that is quite a credential there. A certified financial planner, member of the original R.com, I guess that's the realtor.com team, right?
Yep.
Creator of NARS ePro and opt-out syndication as CEO of Point Two Technologies. So welcome, Saul.
Thank you.
I think you're the most senior real estate knowledgeable person in the room here today. So we're happy to be able to have a
Well, John Reily would refute that. He's definitely the oldest.
Okay, I'll be happy to work the slides. Just tell me when you want me to go forward. And
well, so that we were to begin just kind of talking about branding in general. Branding is a repetitive process. It's something you do over and over and over again. A lot of entities spend a lot of money on branding. You'd like to get the benefits of it and not spend as much money. And how can you turn things you do every day into branding experiences? That's the concept we're going to talk about. The next slide, Regina, kind of, when I see this slide, I think of Johnny Moe, because he's always talking about planning, and you too, right? About planning.
exactly.
So, so branding is not just about something you do today. It's about something that fits.
Okay, I think we
into
lost.
your 5 years. When people think of branding, they shouldn't be thinking short term. This is a long term thing. Are you there?
Yes.
Yeah, we're here.
So, so do you have a plan? And when you're looking at your real estate plan, it should be more than just a general plan. You should have specific plans. You should have a plan for branding, a plan for technology, and a plan for revenues. Lots of different plans. And the point here is that this concept of branding typically takes time. And so don't expect miracles the first day out. Branding should be consistent online and offline. And that's an important, and that's the next slide, Regina, is branding should be consistent online and offline. So
Yes, exactly.
What I tell people is, what is your brand? Until you find another one, your name is your brand. And I always kid about it, but I said, it's a good thing my mom named me Saul because that's what everybody calls me. And that's my brand. That's always been my brand. And if I have to re-educate people, that makes my branding efforts even more difficult right out of the chute. So if I start with my name, I have a little bit of a head start. And so since real
Sounds like we're having a little technology glitch.
Yep. I hear that.
Uh-oh, where'd they go?
contractors name online and
Yeah, we're not
Cut in
hearing.
a little bit there, so.
Yeah. Well, I'll just go ahead and jump in there since we can't hear you for a minute, Saul. And a lot of real estate agents, they think, I'm going to have a business card, have a flyer, put my sign in the yard, and that's my branding, right? So that's what their world consists of, is a business card, if that, a flyer, and a sign in the yard, and that's their branding.
I think that's absolutely true. Saul, jump in anytime that you come back. I think that's exactly true, that they're not completely branding themselves in a memorable way. And I actually just did this on a previous webinar, so I'm going to put it out there, right? So you gotta be conscious of, we're not going to talk about the phone calls. The networking is important, right? Absolutely, the phone calls too, but your online reputation and your traditional marketing. So if you're not branding yourself, then you're missing the boat here, because what's happening is we're businesses. We're all businesses. Each individual one of us are businesses. So we have to brand ourselves, not so much our franchise, not so much our broker, not any of that, our own individual self. Like Saul, better call Saul, right?
So what you put your name in front of people, right? Over and over and over again. That branding is about repetition. You want to put your name in front of people, and how do you put your name in front of people, and what's the best? We know realtors do it. You know, average term of home ownership is like 5 to 8 years. So you just want to be top of mind when somebody needs real estate services. And the only way you can ensure that you're top of mind is that you just keep putting yourself in front of them, but you want it to be relevant. You just don't want to be in front of them. So one way to do this is to, anything you do online, make it consistent with what you do offline. And so if you look at domain names, and can you get the next slide, Regina? We can just jump to that and have just a little bit of understanding of, you're going to have a name offline, and that's typically your name, and then online, and to understand a little bit of just the naming structure of domains. A domain is an internet address. The ones we're familiar with, the top level or the first level is .com, and there's .com and .net and .org and .edu, and now there's over 1,000 at that top level, believe it or not.
Wow.
Now, you can't own a top level. Actually, you can, but they're very expensive. But you can own a second level, and that's what businesses and individuals do. They buy a second level domain, something like their name.com, their team.com, their slogan.com, their geographic area.com. And once they own that domain, they're going to use it for their website address and their email address. And we'll get to that in a minute. And then there's even another level of domains, and there's more than that, but another level called third level domains, and you're familiar with them. If you've ever seen www typed in a web address, that's really a third level domain. www.zillow.com, right? The top level is .com, the second level is Zillow, and the third level is the www. Well, that www can be replaced, and once you know that, you open up a whole new world of marketing capability for yourself. So you need to put your name in front of people. One way you can do it is to have your domain name in your email message, so whenever you're sending a communication to somebody, they're seeing your name. And that's what you want. Realtors put their name on bus benches and fly swatters and on the little sticks. Shopping carts, and they put their name everywhere. And so make sure that on your email messaging, the domain is your name, and you'll just get that exposure over and over and over again, and people won't even notice.
Well, I'd like to bring up one thing. It just reminded me when you said Zillow of a lot of agents like to get good reviews because that builds credibility in the marketplace and online leads, and people go online oftentimes for confirmation. So what I hear some agents saying is, here's my Zillow page for my reviews. Go to this page. And that's where they're directing all their traffic to, rather than their own website.
Yeah. You know something, even if I was going to send them to my Zillow page, I would actually create a third level domain, zillow.saulklein.com.
Awesome.
And then I would point that to the URL that Zillow has given me on their site. Just another strategy, another way to use it. Let's go over to the next slide.
Yeah, that way the traffic is coming directly through you, and you're still capturing that traffic.
Yep. So just as a review, the top level is .com, .net, .org, .edu. You don't own the top level, but you can own a second level, and you want to own it as soon as you can, because second level domains are first come, first serve. So the sooner you recognize that and you register yourname.com, then you can use it. And once you begin to use it, you can explore the uses of third level domains. And again, if I had a real estate website, I might have different spots deep inside my website that I want to point people to. I might have a list of all the sold properties in a particular area. And that's not going to be on the front page of my website. That might be buried somewhere inside my website. But I could have soldlistings.myname.com, and I could have that point deep into my website. And so lots of things I can do just by owning this domain. And so the next slide just kind of points this out. Once you own your own domain, you're going to use it for your website address, and you're going to use it for your email address. And this is critical. It takes us to the next slide, and you want to write this down because this is probably the most important piece of all. You want a permanent email address. You want an email address that never changes. Your email address is an asset of your business, just like a phone number is an asset of a business. I sold a a pizza restaurant many years ago. And I was working with a commercial real estate broker, a business broker, and he wrote the offer. And in the offer, he wrote that the phone number remains with the pizza business. Now, I'd never thought that. I was selling houses. But he thought of that. He included it in the offer. And then I asked him why. And it was because he said the phone number is part of this pizza business. As a matter of fact, the phone number is probably the most important part of this pizza business.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. With everybody ordering online, that's an important goodwill.
Well, back in those days, it was just a phone number. But you're right, Bridget. Today, it's the URL. Today, it's
exactly.
Facebook page. Yeah.
Yeah. So your website today is equivalent of what a phone number was back then.
yeah. And
Can I just say, because of the importance of that when when you do pick a domain or an email, you really need to be careful. If you're not just picking your name, like I have a brokerage, be very careful that you pick the right one.
Exactly. And
Yeah,
and Linda, I know you have brokerages in multiple states, so I know you have different websites and emails for each one, right?
Correct. Yep.
So, and just jump over to the next slide. It just kind of takes us to this email thing, gets close to completion. Just know that every time you send an email, it's a marketing piece. And so even if I send a casual email and I don't want to bombard people with my marketing stuff when I'm sending a casual email, I do want them to remember my name. I want them to see my name. And I want them to see it more, even if they don't open that email. I want them to see my name. And that's why I want the email address to have my name in it. You want to remember this. It's the little things that make a difference. Every piece of email you send is a marketing piece. It's got your name in it. And if I can it's an engagement. And relationships are built on engagements. Yeah. And we don't think of email this way, but we need to think of email this way.
Exactly. I can't tell you how many real estate agents I get email from, and there's no signature line on it. It just looks like it's coming from outer space or something. And that's a missed opportunity to put your name, your company name, your title or role. You put your website address at the bottom.
Address.
Your tagline.
Your tagline, exactly. Your logo.
Link
I love
to your
those
website.
emails that you get. I love those emails that say, please call me. And then you scroll down, there's no phone number.
Yeah.
Are we going to touch on, Saul, Gmail at all? Because in the security behind Gmail versus
well, we certainly, there's somewhere in here, and we'll get to it, or we can address that now. Let's just jump to the next slide real quick. Right, every piece of email is a marketing piece, and then this other thing we covered where we said your phone number is an asset of your business. Every realtor should own their own phone number. And your email address is an asset of your business. And so this is a point about, and I walk this line carefully. If I'm a real estate broker, I would like all my agents to use the domain of my real estate brokerage firm. But if I'm an independent contractor, I really want to have my own email address because that's my book of business, no matter what happens to me. So when I started selling real estate, I went to work at Century 21. Franchises were brand new in 1975. And I went to work at Century 21. They didn't have email, but I know my broker would have said to me, Saul, we'll give you an email address for free. It's Saul Klein at century21.com. And if I didn't know better, I would say, that's a great email address. It's very professional. It's got my company, the company name in it. It's got my name. I love it. So I get it. And I give out 100,000 business cards with that email address on it. And remember, the average term of home
ownership. What happens when you leave Century 21?
So the average term of home ownership is 5 to 8 years. I decide I'm going to go to work at Coldwell Banker. I sit down with my new Coldwell Banker broker. He says, Saul, you're going to give you a new email address, Saul Klein at coldwellbanker.com. I say, wow, that's very professional. I really like that. So now what about those people now that want to list and they send email to my Century 21 email address? He forwards it to Coldwell Banker.
Exactly. Right? Well, you've been building your pipeline. And now the brokerage who owns that domain, they're going to redirect it back to their brokerage because that's what brokerages do. And they're going to get all that business that might have come to you simply because they own the domain name and they were able to redirect your email address back to them.
Yeah. So I'm not saying that an agent should always make a decision not to use their broker because there might be reasons to do this. The broker might be paying for your advertising. Who knows what the circumstances are? But the best approach is transparency. It's just understanding that you're giving something up if you do that. And are there ways around it? Is it something that you can put in your broker, salesperson, contractor agreement? Just a little bit more to know, right? So broker email addresses are okay. they're much better than Gmail email addresses. Now,
Right.
if I had my choice between a Gmail and I would certainly opt for a brokerage email address over a Gmail email address for a number of reasons. And Johnny Mo, you started to talk about that.
Yeah, well, last year Gmail had a skimming incident. What skimming is I mean, just basically trolling, right? So they were mining the data from the Gmail skim. Real smart people, right? Internet hackers and stuff like that. And what they were doing is getting all of this information, your client's information. So there has been some discussion, who is liable for any loss that those people may have incurred with all this wire fraud going on out there and everything else like that. What if your email was skimmed and you had a Gmail account? Now your client is out $5,000, $10,000, $100,000, $200,000. Are you responsible for that because you didn't take steps to have a secure email environment? You went with a free email environment, right? So I think when we're looking at our email, even G Suite, and here's the problem with Google and G Suite, I have had the same email since I got into the business. Same thing, my franchise gave me a box of cards. I said, you can keep them, I'll get my own. And I have my own website, my own domain. And what happened is after 16 years, I guess I email a lot or spam, and the way we have our email set up that's going out on our drip campaigns and everything else like that. Maybe somebody reported it or the systems saw a whole lot of emails going out and reported it as spam. One day my email just shut down.
Oh,
I get an email from Gmail saying your G Suite account has been deactivated for violations of our policies and procedures manual. So I'm like, what? And you try to get a hold of somebody at Google. I had to go in through another G Suite account. I got level 1. Level 1 didn't know what to do, bumped it up to level 2 support. Level 2 support took 5 days to get back to me. But in the meantime, I had to change my MX records to point to a whole new server, a hosted Exchange server and everything else like that, so I could get my email back and be back in business. It was a horrible experience. 16 years worth of the archives gone completely out of my control.
Wow, that's crazy to think about. One thing you mentioned about compromising security and privacy of our clients. And we don't think about it, but one thing that I used to do is I used to teach about identity theft. And it's really scary what's out there. And we don't think about it very often, but what do we take from clients? Sometimes we take bank statements. We take copies of checks. We take their pay stubs, tax returns. In California, we have the form where they have to disclose their social security number. That's a real estate form that comes through us. So we have access to a lot of confidential and private and secure financial information about our clients. And we can't just use any old freebie email. We really need to think about how important it is for us not to allow our clients to be victims of identity theft due to our actions.
So you talk about email, it's your communication system. And do you really want to trust your communication system to an entity that provides it to you at no cost, not knowing exactly what they're doing? There really are different types of email and different types of email systems and different types of concerns. And just the message that you send to a client when your return email address is at Gmail. Now, you might not think it means anything. It might not mean anything to you, but it might mean somebody on the other side who gets it, who understands what's going on. And so from a professional perspective, just the look of your own domain says something about you without you having to say something about you.
Exactly. Gotta love those email addresses. I love Mary Kay at gmail.com.
What about AOL?
Real estate address. Okay.
Well, hit
They
the
got
next
the right
one,
idea.
we'll see an AOL one.
They got the right idea though, right? They put at the beginning, they just didn't get the domain side right.
Yes.
Right.
And I know Linda will agree with me on this one, but definitely you want to have your name in there somehow, right, Linda?
Right. Correct. Yes.
Yeah, we're advocates of your name, of yourname.com. We have been doing this so long. We actually have some friends in the business who got their first names. They were available. Now it's nowadays there isn't much available, right? I mean, stuff's gone. I mean, John Reily couldn't even get John Reily in 1995. He couldn't get John Reily. Somebody else already had it.
So I wind up with John Dash Reily.
He got John Dash Reily. And then the guy who owns johnreily.com would get all the email that was supposed to go to John because people would not remember to put the dash in. And they would put John Reily and all the email would go to this other John Reily.
Well, what about your name? Your name's a little more unique, Saul.
Yeah, Saul Klein. There's a guy named Saul Klein who was one of the founders of Skype, and he's a venture capitalist, and he's a real wealthy guy. He travels around the world, but he's younger than me. So I got saulklein.com before he did, and because domains are first come, first serve, he can't have it. But a lot of people think that he should have it, so they send email to him, but it comes to me. And I've gotten I've got some real interesting email. And then when Twitter came out, I got the Twitter handle at Saul Klein because he didn't think of it, I guess. So I get it. Well, now he's got followers all over the world, and they go listen to him speak. And when they listen to him speak, they want to tweet that they're listening to this guy, but they use my Twitter handle. So all of a sudden I get this tweet that says I'm in Denmark or I'm in Sweden and I'm speaking. And so, but it's okay. It gets me more publicity, right? It just helps me brand a little bit better.
Right. So there's an advantage to being around when the internet was invented, right?
Yeah, but it's got its disadvantages too.
So we have a question here from Robert. He says, "Do you think GoDaddy emails are safe?" I responded to him in the chat, and you can add to it. I think if you have the hosted exchange package that they offer, then yes, it's a little bit more safe because I mean it is a Microsoft product, so it's always being attempted to be hacked. And it has been hacked in the past. Everything's been hacked in the past, but at least they're continually monitoring it and updating it and putting patches in place. So, I mean, if you want to add anything to that question, Saul, do you think there's a safer route versus what's the safest route for your email hosting?
So I think that what you're talking about is a business solution, right? And so what they've done is they've purchased a business solution, and that's going to be better than a solution that everybody can get for free and make up accounts. So I think that's fine. You know, we offer domain and email services through a company. It's called Rackspace, right? So we're talking about industrial strength email. It's the primary business, but I would say GoDaddy probably does the same type of thing. Hey, GoDaddy, by the way, I told John this morning, that's one of those companies that decided they wanted to brand themselves overnight. And so how did they do it? They bought Super Bowl
ads,
right? They bought Super Bowl ads, and that's how they were able to do it. But you can't afford Super Bowl ads. How are you going to get people to remember you? And one thing is to have your own name, your own domain. It's used in your email, not just your website address. And so every time you send a piece of email out, it's got your name and it's hitting people right in the face, and it's just repetition. You want to hit the next slide, Regina? I think it's the every piece of email. Oh, there's some tips, right? No, you don't want the AOL or the Gmail account. You don't want that. And you do want youatyourname.com or youatyourteam.com or youatyourcompany.com. That's what you want. I put question marks. You at Century 21, you might have a reason to do that. You at Keller Williams, you at the broker, you might have a reason. If you do, terrific. But as an independent contractor, my advice to independent contractors was always to own your own book of business and to own your own domain and email.
If I could just point out with the first name, it makes it easier when you're going into email. You know, I have a group of people that I email a lot, different organization I'm in. So I type in people's first name, and there's, you know, some people that their email is not their first name. It's, you know, San Diego agent. Well, you know, if your name starts with a D, I'm never going to remember that your email starts with San Diego agent. So always make it your first name. And when you're responding to email, it'll pop up for people.
It happens to me all the time. That's a great point. A great point. This is something. Now, once you own your own email, you can have any email address at yourname.com belongs to you because I own saulklein.com. And I can create email addresses, anything at saulklein.com. And I can do this very specifically, create specific email addresses, anything at saulklein.com. And I can tell my email company to send that anywhere I want it sent. But then there's a feature that we use, and it's called unlimited email addressing. It's a real simple feature, but anything at saulklein.com comes to me. And I have all my mail, no matter what email addresses I'm using, I have all my mail sent to one POP account, one email box. And so if you send email to saulklein.com, joe@saulklein.com, jack@saulklein.com, I don't have to do anything. Betty@saulklein.com, anything at saulklein.com comes to me. And so what's the value of that? Well, whenever I sign up for something on the internet, they always want my email address, right? And so, but I don't want to give them Saul@saulklein.com. That's my primary email address. So if I sign up at
I'm going to forward.
okay, if I sign up at a United Airlines site, well, we'll give an example right here, 123 River Street at saulklein.com. This is a differentiator. Now, I don't have to do anything special to set that email up. That email will come to me. And now when I'm talking to a seller, I can say I create a special email address for every listing. Here's the email address for your listing. If you know anybody who's interested in this property, have them send an email to 123 River Street at saulklein.com. And it's just different. It's a differentiator. Doesn't cost me anything extra to do it. So emergency@me.com. If I'm going to run ads, if I'm going to run an ad in the Wall Street Journal or New York Times, I give them the email address nyt@saulklein.com. If I'm going to run an ad in Homes and Land, the email address I use is homesandland@saulklein.com. I'm going to run an ad in Harmon Homes. The email address I use is harmonhomes@saulklein.com. Now, at the end of the month, I analyze my email. I notice I got no email from Harmon Homes@saulklein.com. I got no email from Homes and Land at saulklein.com. I got 2,757 email from New York Times at saulklein.com. I'm going to start shifting my ad dollars over to the New York Times, right?
Yes.
So let me just jump into that for a quick second.
Yeah, Johnny Moe, I want to hear about sourcing. If you.
Well, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I was just going to explain the importance of that.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say is that how do you know what ads are working or not if you're not measuring them? And how can you measure them if you don't have a method to measure them? That's what you're going to say, right, Johnny? Go ahead.
No, similar to that, but what I was going to say is our friend Jesse owns Call Action, right? There's companies like Listing Booster. There's all these other companies where you got this ad 105, and that's the phone number. 205, see, 5 is a differentiator. That's this advertisement. 305 is the newspaper. That way, when the ad comes in, you know what's or when the call comes in or the lead comes in, you know what's working, right? And it's the same thing where you can have different phone numbers or extensions, so you can see what's working there. It's the same thing with email. How do you really know what is working or what is not? So if you're able to follow a scheme like this, yes, it's a little bit of work, but that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be good managers in understanding where our business is coming from, where the money that we're spending, what's working, having your own protected email so you're not getting all that spam. You can give somebody the email of saying, yeah, sign up with Johnny Spambot at johnmrealty.com, and that's where all the spam is going to go. I don't have to worry about it. But now all of a sudden I got these different source ads coming in, not only on the telephone, but also an email. This is brilliant.
Yeah, and so with this, the technology requires no effort on your part because anything at saulklein.com comes to me. Now, when I sign up online, if I signed up at Staples, I give Staples at saulklein.com. I don't give them my real email address. What if I start getting email addressed to Staples at saulklein.com, but it's from Office Depot? Then I know that Staples probably sold my email address, and I can now create a folder in my Outlook that says any email addressed to Staples at saulklein.com, don't put it in my inbox, put it in the delete folder. And if you hit the next one, it's United Airlines, I think. And because this is what I do. I make these email addresses up on the fly, and I give them out to whoever wants my email address.
I think for some people listening, Saul, I think for some people listening, it sounds like, oh, that's mundane. I have a hard enough time setting up a Gmail account. How easy is it?
Well, so that's this. Once I buy my domain and I set up the email account, I don't have to touch this. Anything at saulklein.com comes to me automatically without me doing anything. See, I can put my hands behind my head, Johnny Moe, and you can send an email to 123876 at saulklein.com, and it will come to me. Oh. Because anything at saulklein.com comes to me. Now,
and that goes back to your setup of how you set up your domain name and your email.
It's just knowing a little bit about email accounts and what I can do with them. Now, if my email address gets compromised, which one got compromised? Right? If it's one of these, I don't really care because I can just create a rule that moves all of these email into a delete folder. Or even if I want my United, but I don't want to see it, I can create a rule that says anything comes in from United, don't put it in my inbox, put it in my United folder.
Mhm.
And I can go look at my United folder when I want to look at it. And so it just gives me a capability to manage my email more effectively and to brand myself.
In answer to somebody's question about how hard or easy is it to do this, it will take you probably 15 seconds tops to create an email address for whatever you need it for. I mean, it's seconds. It's very quick.
And in this particular functionality doesn't require anything. We set it up so the most important thing is at Saul Klein. What comes before the at, it doesn't care. It's going to come to my mailbox as long as they get the at saulklein.com right.
Exactly. And that's part of your RealTown services setup, right?
Yeah, that's how we do it at RealTown. Exactly. And we do it again. We do it through Rackspace, which is a industrial strength kind of email provider. That's all they do is provide email services. So third level, a little bit about third level domains for the real estate industry. We talked about, well, the top level domain is .com. The second level domain is saulklein.com. And the third level domain would be sold.saulklein.com. And I could point sold.saulklein.com to a list of sold properties on the web. I could point featuredproperties.saulklein.com to the part of my website that has all my listings. I might specialize in condos, and I might have a section on my website that's got condos. And rather than tell somebody, go to my website, click on the tab on the top, select in the drop-down menu, I can just say, go to condos.saulklein.com. And so I'm using third level domains, openhouse.saulklein.com. And I can use this in a listing presentation. So now when I go out on a listing presentation, I'm telling the seller, I'm trying to differentiate myself. I'm saying, these are the things I do. I'm going to create third level domains. I'm going to use email addresses for the ads so I can track the ads. Now, whether or not anybody sees the ad and it works, it almost doesn't matter at this point, right? Because you're setting the seller up because you're doing things and you're giving them ideas that nobody else has given them before.
No, and I absolutely love this for many different ways, Saul, because you can be given, like you just said, your unique URL to any home that you want, right? I also train my agents and coach them to build community pages, right, on Facebook, or if they want to take it offline and build like a Wix or a WordPress and build. Now all of a sudden you can have, let's use my towns, Bedford.johnmrealty.com.
Exactly.
Merrimack.John. Now I can optimize each one of those pages, and SEO is going to go absolutely crazy because they're pages within pages.
And it's got your name on it.
SEO go nuts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
One thing I think we should talk about is, excuse me, for the brokerage owners on here. So as a brokerage owner, I have two things I want to do. I want to recruit agents, and I want to have a place for buyers and sellers so I can match my agents with our ultimate customer. So, let's talk about how we could use this for brokerage to differentiate itself with two different types of positionings, one to recruit and retain agents and another for buyers and sellers.
Well, before we hit the next slide real quick.
Okay.
So just to give you an example of how you might use this, or how a broker might use a third level domain on a sign rider. And so instead of a sign rider that says sold, or one that says I'm beautiful inside, or whatever those sign riders say, I want a sign rider that has my name, because everybody that drives by there, I want them to see my name. And you might not think that's a big deal, but that's an engagement. I know it's a tiny little engagement, but when they see my name, that's really important. And when somebody drives by this, they're going to know, or they're going to probably think that if I went to this URL, I'd find information on that listing. And so, Regina, get back to your question.
Yeah.
Just this knowledge that a broker might have, that a broker might teach to their agents, might be a value or a differentiator for the way that the broker helps the agent market their listings or themselves.
Right. Well, for example, I just want to apply that example. Like my company is California Coast and Country Homes. Our site is Cal Coast Country. We had to abbreviate a little bit, but we try to keep some of those keywords in there. So we could have, liveyourbestlife.calcoastcountry.com, which, that could be for real estate agents, or it could be the freedom lifestyle at calcoastcountry.com, or, you know, lowest commission or, you know, highest commission splits or lowest fees or whatever it is at calcoastcountry.com. And that could be the agent recruiting domains as compared to the ones you would have for buyers or sellers.
And if I'm not mistaken, Saul, correct me, the second level domain, that's the one that we're truly restricted by, right? That nobody else can have. But your third level domain is pretty much infinity what you can have, because it's it's below basically a subdomain to your domain, right?
Yeah.
So you pretty much have an infinity. You can use anything that you want as long as it's .your domain.
Right on. So .com, I can't own .com because that's owned by somebody else, but I can own SaulKlein.com provided nobody else owns it.
Mm-hmm.
Once I own SaulKlein.com, anything to the left of that is, that's my real estate. I can put anything there I want.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so you're absolutely right. The same thing with the email address. Once I own the domain, anything to the left of it's my real estate. So anything to the left of the @ belongs to me in an email address if I own the domain. I can just make them up, one for every property, one for every client. I do this. I kind of blow people away when I go to somebody asks me like Regina asked me what email address should I send it to. I say, well, send it to Regina at SaulKlein.com.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And
And
it
then,
works.
and then, you know, all the spam from me, from me.
Yes, how do you create a third level?
Oh, so John says somebody asked, how do you create a third level domain? Well, the way it happens in our system is you call customer service and they'll help you do it. They'll help you create that. Once you learn, it's not hard to do. It takes a couple of seconds, right? 2 minutes to do it. So we do it. We'll teach you how to do it. But once you figure out how to do it, it's very simple to do. And but it's a function of the domain host. You just know that it's a function of where your domain is hosted.
Yeah, I do my own third levels, and again, it's seconds. It's very, very easy.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you for the question, Susan.
But you got to own the second level domain to do it, right? And that's where everybody, they don't buy the second level domain. And it's like, they spend their money on websites. They spend their money on CRM. They spend their money on all kinds of other things they don't use.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing they use the most, they're hesitant because, I don't know. And that's why years ago, when we first discovered this, and we discovered this a long time ago, and we realized that it's not as easy as to tell somebody how important it is and that they're all going to go out and do it. Because as important as it was and as persuasive as we were, we couldn't convince everybody to do it. So we took on a fictitious business name for our company, and the fictitious business name was Internet Crusade. And the reason we called ourselves that is because we were just going to go out and beat our head against the wall, and we were going to be obnoxious because we knew that if we could convince people to do this, they would thank us later. And that's
how has that worked out for you? So
well, it's worked out great. All the people that we sold domains to, we can't tell you how thrilled they are. But then here's the other side. I tell people our mission was to drive people onto the internet. Was our stated mission of our company. That our mission was to drive people onto the internet. You tell me, how successful were we?
Well, I want to say, I know that you were very successful because, you know, 20 years ago, you talked to people about domains and emails when it was a new thing. People took your advice, and people are still using those domains and emails today. As you know, they still have accounts with you 20 years later. And I remember I lived in San Luis Obispo, California, you know, a little country place, like halfway between LA and San Francisco. And, you know, it's a nice little area, but a little isolated. So we didn't get to go to, you know, the exposure to a lot of the metropolitan areas, what the agents were doing there. But I remember you took the time to come up to Slowtown, and I remember I came to your presentation. It was about ePro. I thought it was great, and I actually remember this presentation, you talking about United Airlines, and I thought, wow, that's awesome. I mean, it was just really a light bulb moment for me. So I'm very excited to be with you here, sharing the same information with all of our real estate friends at Lab Coats.
Well, we
That
think
still works 20 years later.
Sure does. I learned a lot from Saul.
we thank you for that, Regina. And you know, I went to over 1,000 associations of realtors in the United States over a 10-year period of time.
Wow.
So
That's crazy.
I went to every association that would let me come in. And I was doing 2 or 3 of those a day for like a 10-year period of time because we thought this was such a critical message, and we still think it's a critical message, and nobody talks about it anymore, right? Because Gmail kind of came in and it kind of took over, and nobody even wants to talk about this. But that's why we think it's time to bring it back. It's time for people to get this message again, differentiate themselves. The real estate marketplace is changing. We hear all about these things that are happening. The most important thing that somebody could do who's selling real estate today is continue to build and strengthen their book of business. And that's what this does.
That's for sure.
Okay,
Hey, so we have on here,
sorry. I just want to be a devil's advocate just in case some of the agents on here want to run out and get their own domain. Their brokerage may not allow them to use it unless there's a way to retain those emails in the brokerage email account as well, just for risk management. And there is a way to do it. So if the broker says there isn't, challenge them because there is.
Right.
Yeah, and I tell you, the way that it works, that's a great point, and it's going to vary from state to state. And brokers have to be careful the way they do that because of the independent contractor thing. But all you do is you point the email to 2 different mailboxes.
Right.
Right. So John Reily, I tell you, if I had a personal assistant, and I don't anymore, but there was a time when I did, when I got the personal assistant got a copy of all my email. And so my email would come to me, but my email would also go to my personal assistant. And all we had to do is give the personal assistant a mailbox, and that way I didn't miss anything. And so that's all you do is you direct it to the broker's box. And so you're absolutely right. And it's an easy remedy.
Yeah.
Easy.
now just looking at it from both perspectives, Linda, because you brought up a good point. As a brokerage owner, I want each of my agents to have an email at our company. I want them to have a web page on our site, and I want everything to be branded with our company. Now, as an agent, I'm thinking about this long-term. You know, the agents love their current brokerage, but the truth is that they're going to change eventually. You know, every few years they change to a new brokerage. So I would be thinking about taking that with me, and I might do something like have my domain name pointing or forwarding to the brokerage site that's required. And then if I leave to go to another brokerage, or if I get my broker's license and open my own company, now I'm going to redirect that. I'm going to forward it somewhere else, so my customers still come with me.
Oh, that's a great point, Regina. So if I work at a brokerage firm where the broker gives me a website, I can take the broker's website and I can buy my domain, and then I can point my domain to the broker's website.
That's right.
Yep. As long as the broker helps you do that.
Yes, yes. Definitely want to make sure we're in compliance with our brokerages.
But here's a real interesting point. How many people do you think use Gmail are not in compliance with their broker?
Probably most.
Way too many, yeah.
Most, I would say. And how many use Gmail? Most.
Most.
So I would say almost all of them are out of compliance right now.
Yep, I agree. Hey, let's talk about this slide right here. The little things that make a difference. You're talking about upper and lower case.
Yeah, this is a great slide. So the email addresses and website addresses are not case sensitive. On servers and usernames and passwords and those kinds of things, they often are case sensitive. But email addresses and website addresses are not case sensitive. So use that to your advantage. It's hard to read all lowercase. Now we get purist technologists every once in a while that say, no way, I'm going to always use lowercase. Well, good for you. That's great. We're talking about marketing here. It's much easier to read first name, last name with upper lowercase. Look at, I used to call this guy Jim's Head. He was a real estate broker in the Atlanta area. Jim's Head, but his name was Jim Sheet. But you can't see Jim Sheet, right? You're not looking, just like Jenner Hodes. I'm not telling you what I thought that was. I was afraid to go look at it.
You can put a period in between the two as well, correct?
If you put a period in between it, that would create a third level domain.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh we're I'm sorry. We're not on email.
Yeah, exactly. So now, so this is just using upper and lower case. It doesn't matter how somebody types it in. If they type it in with all lowercase, it's going to go to your website. If they type it in all uppercase, it's going to go to your website. If they alternate uppercase, lowercase, it's going to go to your website. So take advantage of it on your marketing materials. Now, just to give you an idea how people get the wrong idea, it's the next slide. If you don't do this kind of thing. These were the XXX rated ones.
So this is supposed to be who represents.
Who represents? But it depends on where their mind is when they look at this, right?
That's brilliant.
Yeah. And I like the bottom one. That was always the bottom was my favorite one, right?
Fart.
Need of art. It just depends on where your eyes go, but it makes the point. Your people's eyes don't always go where you want them to go.
Right.
If you want them to see your name and you want your name to have an impression and you want to create a brand, and that's what we're talking about, then use upper and lower case, and people are still going to be able to find your website and they're still going to be able to send you email.
Exactly.
It's an easy way to highlight who you are.
So we got a question online here. Our friend David Fresquez put a, I don't know if we're going to address this
Hey,
here, but
David.
I'll give my 2 cents. What's your 2 cents on SSL certificates? I'm a fan because Google says we're not going to even recognize anything that's not SSL.
Yeah, we use it. We use it. I mean, I can't imagine not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much a standard. So let's talk about strategy. Hey, Johnny Mo, you want to talk a little bit about strategy? I know you're the strategy guy.
Sure. So when we're doing like community pages and things like that, I mean, you got to have that strategy. You got to stick out. And when you can have that, your street dot or your town dot, your domain or whatever like that, it's so important. And here's a unique thing too. You can create, you don't even have to build web pages. You can build community pages on Facebook and then have that as part of the strategy. And now all of a sudden, when you get an email that comes in, you can have Merrimack Homes at johnnymo.com or Bedford Homes at johnnymo.com or Bedford Community at johnnymo.com. And you can have these 3rd level domains and everything else like that and Facebook. So you don't even have to build anything crazy. You already have the platform. You just start putting content there. So I think it's a huge strategy to have that. Now all of a sudden you can, with the emails and the dubs and everything, you can actually streamline your life. So all of a sudden when a particular property goes away, so doesn't like the emails and the junk on that property.
Yeah,
I wish
exactly.
I wish I could get Zillow and all the other companies, all these other domain names. That way they would just leave me alone because all day long I'm unsubscribing. Had I done what Saul had done from the very beginning, I probably wouldn't be unsubscribing all the time. Be able to manage it a little bit better.
It'd be Zillow at Johnny Mo, and then, you know, you can delete that email.
So, but then it's like you get tired of that one, then it's Zillow 2 at Johnny Mo. Zillow 3, right? You're in control. That's the point. You're in control.
And I think most people, Saul, to go back to your question a minute ago, why don't a lot of people do this? They don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't know how easy it is. It's easy.
Mm.
So we've offered this service for years. We started selling this product in 1995. And we actually, for about a 10-year period, we did this with the National Association of Realtors. So we still do this. John and I don't push this very much because we've been busy doing other things for years, but we've looked at the landscape. We say it's time to bring this back. So permanent email address, that's an email address that never changes. It gives you the capability to create any email address you want, call that unlimited email addressing. The domain is included and all the 3rd level domains you want to create, and it's $99 a year, which isn't a lot of money when you look at what you spend money on in your business, in marketing. And so if you're interested in this, we really want to walk you through it. It's really kind of a concierge deal. Just write that phone number down, give us a call, or you can go to the website, I guess, go to realtown.com, and or you can go to Regina's. There's some website addresses. But don't, the most important thing, I'm not hate to send you to GoDaddy or anywhere else because the best place to buy it's from us. But don't wait. Right? This is like one of those things that you wait one day, you could miss the boat. You could end up being John Reily instead of John Reily.
Who wants to do that?
.com. And I can tell you, I've been listening to it for 25 years, and he wishes he was JohnReily.com.
He never told me.
Well, while we're talking about .coms and everything, Saul, something big happened last year that some people might not know about, which you actually can help them with, and that's the .realtor.
Right.
You want to touch on that quickly?
Yeah. So last couple of years, ICANN, that's the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, they've been spreading out the number of domains because they're running out of domain names. You think about it, there's only so many combinations, and it started out with 27 characters and it went to 63 characters. They started adding, and then last year they just threw a whole bunch of more top-level domains, and there's over 1,000 now. And one of them is .realtor. right? So you can have a .realtor domain. I actually own bettercallsaul.realtor. And my email address is saul@bettercallsaul.realtor. And I love it. And I'm an NAR member. I've been for 40 years. However, if you stopped being a realtor, you couldn't take that domain with you. And so that's just a consideration when you're looking at the .realtor domain, and there might be other uses for it. I have it, but anything that accumulates or accrues there, it's not mine if I stop being a realtor. I'm good now. I'm realtor emeritus. Once you get to that point, you're a member for the rest of your life, right? But that's not everybody. So .realtor, and then NAR launched a couple months ago something called .real estate. .real estate, another new top-level domain. Now, these things haven't caught on. You don't see a lot of them, but there's over 1,000. It's just a matter of time. And you can go to get.realtor or go to get.realtor, and that'll tell you where you can buy either a .realtor or a .real estate domain name. So, yep, they're out there. They're available. I bought some when John and I, when .real estate, we own a lot of domains. When .real estate went public, for realtors, we bought about 50 of them. And
got me a couple of them.
And you don't have to be a realtor to buy. Yeah, you don't have to be a realtor to buy .real estate. So we bought some of the. Yeah, the public can buy those. And so that in my area, and Johnny Mo, there's a good thing if people are setting up community sites and those types of things to keep other people from owning the name of the neighborhood .real estate. It might be a defensive tactic for people. So we've introduced a whole new concept here, and that is, offensive and defensive strategies with the domain names. I bought the misspellings of my name so that even if people misspell my name, I would get the email.
That's great. Hey, for the myrealtown.com, I'm wondering if you're talking about the .real estate. Can we get the .real estate through myrealtown.com?
No, the .real estate, you have to go to get.real estate.
Ah, okay, interesting. Okay.
Right? So in that case, the top level domain is .real estate. The second level domain is get. Get.real estate.
Ah,
and
that's
they can
interesting.
add anything to the left of that they want. And
Hey,
same thing with .realtor. If you want a .realtor, the place you go is get.realtor.
Hey, I'm going to close the slideshow so we can do a little screen demo. We have about 2 minutes left here. So I just want to say thank you to everybody for joining us today, but stay tuned. We're going to do a little live demo here on the screen. But remember, today's topic is all about branding with web and email. Your panelists have been the RealTown founders, Saul Klein, John Reily with the Labco agent admins, which is Linda Maxwell, Johnny Moe, and myself, Regina Brown. So I'm going to do a new share here. And I'm going to go to, let's see, myrealtown.com. Okay, let me know if that comes up. Does that come up? Can everybody see that?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, great. So you're ready to order. You're thinking about what we said. You're realizing that you really need this as a great branding strategy for yourself and to grow your business. So here's what you do. You start right here. It says begin the search for your perfect domain name. You can go ahead and put your domain name in. Say it's 123 Main Street, Carlsbad. And that's your, that's the street, city. And that's the address of your new listing on 123 Main Street. And then you can click search domain and it'll come up with the different variations, what's available, the .com's available, .net, .org, .biz. And you can also see that we used keywords in here, like the name of the street. We use the name of the city. You could also use the name of the neighborhood and things like that. And so I just wanted to show you also the email intro package is $129. That's the bundle deal. So that includes 1 year of domain hosting plus an email for that account. And $129 is actually a pretty good deal if you think about branding yourself with a listing. You just took a listing. I mean, here in Carlsbad, our listings are, $950,000, I think is the median price here. But, say my listing's a little lower, $800,000. You know, $129 for this listing, that's nothing. That is an incredible branding tool, a very good value. But wait, there's more, Johnny Mo. You want to tell us about the deal?
Go to 99.
Oh,
There's a discount.
Regina, there's a code. John
Yeah.
Reily says there's a code, and if they get to the checkout and they put the code in, they'll get it for $99.
Okay.
I think the code was domain. If you go back,
I have my own code. It's Brown, right? I think is my code.
Yep.
Johnny, I think you have a code, and
Yeah, I don't even know what it is. I'd have to look it up.
and Linda, if you don't have a code, we got to get you a code.
So I just want to point this out. You can G Suite, I think, is $5 per email per month. I think that's what I pay. I don't recall, but I'm pretty sure that
$5.95.
Okay, so $6. 6 times 12 is 72. Okay, so if it's 99 bucks a year, we're talking about whatever difference there's, 17 bucks to be able to have a company that's showing me how to do what you just did is well worth the 17 bucks to me. And I'm not going to be a FSBO agent and cheaping out on 17 bucks. I'd rather have you have the business and show me how to do it, because at GoDaddy, they're just trying to sell me another website, another security this, a security that. I can't even get the checkout easy, right? It takes me 45 minutes to get through the yes and no's.
I just want to point out that the email forwarding on here has spam filtering, virus protection, unlimited email addresses, exactly what we were talking about today, auto response confirmation message if you want it set up, web interface where you can go in and manage your email, and you can sign up for email forwarding as well. So all of that is included, and there are some other services on here as well. So yeah, the $129 deal is what we've been talking about today. Of course, you can use our special RealTown code, get it for $99, which is $30 off. So that's a pretty good deal.
I think the year was 2016, 2015 and 2016. And this small real estate company, if I'm not mistaken, called Keller Williams, was actually, Gmail was kind of like their back end. So they were using like this big fancy Gmail suite. And they had, if you guys remember, a complete email hack that happened and basically took them down for a couple of days. Do you guys recall that happening? But KW's email got hacked, and that they had to switch at that point to something a little bit more secure. But they were running, if I'm not mistaken, a Gmail, G Suite backbone. So there's Gmail for you.
Yeah, somebody said he was there at the time.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I was there at the time, yeah, and I'm pretty sure I think I was still there, or I had just left. But I always had my own email, so I never had to worry about it. Until later they shut me down.
Yeah, less of an impact. Go ahead.
Somebody had a good question, which I was going to ask as well. If somebody already has a GoDaddy domain or domain from one of the other providers, can they port it over to you?
It's a great question, and we call that a domain transfer. It can be done. Of course, the companies that do this, they're not crazy about you switching away. So it's not the easiest thing, but we can do that. Absolutely. We did it. There was a time when there was only one place you could buy your domain. It was Network Solutions, which turned into VeriSign. And about 1999, they went to new registrars, and they opened the whole world up, and they had to then begin to allow for this transfer to take place. So it's possible. It's not easy for an individual to do. We can walk you through it. It's not that difficult if we do it along with.
And you can see I've highlighted it right there on the screen, transfer your domain from another registrar.
Okay, so does that answer Marvis Stewart's question too? I have both URLs but lack the knowledge in setting them up. Can you help me? I purchased through NAR.
Yeah, we can help you.
Does that do the same thing?
In this case, we might have to talk to them. If they got it through NAR, if it's a .real estate or a .realtor, that's a selected registrar that when they set that up. But we'll walk through that. We know the people there, and we'll be able to get a hold of them. And so what she probably did is bought the domains, but didn't get an email service, and now wants to add email service to those domains, and we can do that.
Okay.
Hey, Saul, if people want to contact you, should they call you? Is that okay, or email?
Yeah, the best thing to do is call that 800 number that we gave you. It was 800 numbers.
What is it?
888
It was on the slide. There's a phone number. They can send me an email to anything@saulklein.com, and I'll get it, and I'll make sure that they find the right, the right person to help them.
I'm going to try that tonight.
You can do it. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah. So
Once you
I
figure
love
it
that,
out.
bro. That alone, that little piece that you just shared is amazing. So all these years I've been struggling with this email,
Yeah,
going
Gina,
into
right.
different mailboxes. I can have them all come into one mailbox and filter it through folders.
Exactly.
That's beautiful.
That's what I do. I have about 6 different emails and different domains, and that's what I do.
When you reply, does it reply as that email?
You can select how you want it to reply. You can have a default reply, or you can actually check from a Dropbox who you want it to be a reply from.
Oh, that's
Different
cool. That
email
is so cool.
signatures for different ones, however you want to set it up.
Yeah, it depends on what email client you use. I use Outlook. And so, yeah, I do all that. You can select the return address, can select the signature, and create folders, create rules. That's a whole nother thing is to get, I don't know how many people use Outlook anymore. They're all using G Suite or something, right?
I got Outlook for one. I actually use Shift for all my Gmail accounts, and then I use an OWA client instead of the desktop client.
Yeah, yeah. So I use Outlook. It lets me do all those things. And we use the Exchange account, right, for our business.
Yeah. And I just want to let everybody know, man, about Saul. Saul and John are some of the smartest people when it comes. This is their thing. Everybody's great at their thing. This is their thing. And they've been involved in the industry forever. I don't know anybody that's been in longer, but they've been involved in the industry. They're approachable. They want to help the agents. They help the agents in so many ways, help the brokers. They are definitely stewards of the industry. So I really think that, hey, man, this is what they do. I want to help them because they know I want to do what you do, right? And GoDaddy's not teaching me that stuff. The president of GoDaddy's not on this webinar with us. He's probably in a boat somewhere, enjoying life.
He's probably in the blimp for those Super Bowl ads.
Lucky. So approachable, knowledgeable. This is the thing. If you're a real estate agent, a realtor, then this is the right path. This is just the right path because it was designed for you, right? And they know all the ins and outs about that. So I would strongly take a look at it. Do we got another question?
I put Saul and John's phone number, the 800. It's actually 866 phone number. 866-377-0627. I went ahead and put that in the chat.
Thank you.
And Linda asked, a different Linda Bobsky asked, what is the transfer charge? I don't know if you know that or if they got to call the number to get it.
$25.
20.
John says $25.
Okay, so something nominal.
Yeah.
Excellent.
There's John Reily here peeking around
Hey
the
guys,
corner.
There he is.
this is fun.
I shut his camera off because when Saul was glitching, I wanted to shut the bandwidth down and minimize their bandwidth usage over the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
You know,
No
people-
problem. I've been shut down before, John.
Turn
I want to apologize for John Reily. He was as talkative as ever. He always wants to steal the conversation. You know?
Domination.
Right? Absolutely. So, y'all, if there's any more questions or you need to reach out to Saul and John, ask them any questions, anything at saulklein.com. If you need us in the Lab Coat Agents groups and the broker group or the main group, hit us up. We're approachable. Saul's in there too. Just start typing Saul. Just start typing John Reily. They'll pop up. Saul posts a lot of stuff in there every day. And it had some high level content that I suggest everybody stop and take a look at every once in a while because it's some really good stuff.
Hey, Johnny, make sure that people don't send it to anything at johnreily.com because it's going to go to some guy in Connecticut.
It's John Dash Reily.
John
Yeah.
Dash Reily.
You got it, Linda. Thank you.
Well, you know what? I guess that's your new nickname, John Reily. We're just going to call you Dash from now on.
Dash Club.
I use Mrs. Dash. I was wondering who Mr. Dash is, and now I know.
Good one.
Yeah. All All right, y'all. Saul, John, thank you for being here. Linda,
Thank you.
Regina, thank you for assisting
Yay.
me.
Yeah, and thank you to Lab Coats for allowing us to host this in the group. And thank you to Saul, Klein, and John Reily. They also have a group. It's the RealTown group. So bop on over there, join that group as well for some awesome engagement.
Well, thank you.
And we'll see you all here soon.
Thank you very much. Thanks to
Bye,
everybody.
everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody. Thank you.